You're welcome to Business Daily on Trust TV. I am your host, Chamon Dabeng. Let's talk numbers. We're starting off with the stock market as of 6 a.m. this morning. You're welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about the consistent hike in the cost of gas. Now, Nigerians all over the country have been left outraged at the fact that the cost of gas has been steadily increasing month to month, basically month to month anyway. As of 2020 till now, the cost of gas has actually increased by a staggering about 98%, which is, frankly speaking, is utterly insane that we've had such an increase just within 1 year. So right now, a cylinder of gas, that's about 12.5 kg, costs about 8,000 naira. Now, according to some reports, they're saying that the cost of gas could actually reach 10,000 naira by December. Now, let me turn to my guest in the studio with me. I have political economist and development researcher Olamilekan. Pardon me, Adefolari Olamilekan. You're welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on this consistent price hike in gas? Now, taking a look at the situation that we have in the country, according to the now defunct Department of Petroleum Resources, Nigeria's gas reserves are 206.53 trillion cubic feet, making Nigeria one of the top 10 countries in terms of proven gas reserves.
Exactly.
So why is it that in a country that is one of the top oil producing nations of the world, that provides other nations with electricity and gas, be suffering such shortages and paying such high amounts to buy gas? Because initially, I think a 12.5 kg was not even up to 4,000 naira a few months. It was around that price. And then suddenly it's escalated
to the price that it is today. I think remote causes and immediate causes have been identified as what have led to increase in gas prices. We have abundance of it, over 200 millions of cubic of it in Nigeria.
Trillions,
which majorly are being flared into the air free of charge. And major research on this particular aspect has discovered that production and exploration has been inadequate. In terms of the immediate and remote causes, issues around exploration and production has been very, very inadequate, that we cannot make up with the demands locally and even internationally. Then when NLG came on stream, we are making about 550 metron of it yearly. Then it increased to about 1,200 of it later. But NLG have been concerned in terms of export. Report came out late last night that they have now putting up their strategy to now supply the local market with enough of gas. But the issue is this: how soon will they be able to sustain such energy? Because there's one thing to say we will supply the local market. There's one thing to say we'll crash the price. And there's another thing for as a business entity to be looking out for profit. And it's not in Nigerian nature that when price of a thing go up, it come down easily. So we are looking at that scenario. And Nigerian households have been affected because over the years, from 2005,
they were basically pushed into buying
gas. That's what I want
gas,
to go into now. Yes. Going to gas. Even there's a program in the Vice President Office called National Implementation for Gas Cylinder that will allow Nigerians to enjoy about gas. But the issue is this: after pushing millions of Nigerians into believing in gas that will be so reliable, so fast in cooking,
and a healthier option, by the way.
Exactly. The options have been discovered, have been returned as dirty fuel. We are talking about charcoal, we are talking about sawdust, we are talking about firewood. And globally, it has been said that let us go for clean energy. But what me have been able to understand is that in this issue of getting clean energy, third worlds are being shortchanged. The technology to explore gas, we don't have it. And that's why companies go into innovation engineering to bring up means of exploring those gases. We don't have those technology. And that's why when energy is talking about trying to crash the price, I wonder how we'll be able to do that. When price of gas is internationally transmitted prices. If you understand what I'm trying to say. The price is not priced locally in Naira. It is priced in dollar. So how will they be able to crash the price? If the supply chain will be improved upon, fine. But that price issue they are saying they are going to crash, and that's where the issue is, and that's where the challenge is. Not just for Nigeria alone, for other third world countries.
All right, so now taking a look at it, now you talked about gas prices around the world.
Exactly.
Now, you feel like we have the capacity to actually meet up with the demand of for gas when it comes to our providing for our foreign counterparts and still being able to, meet the demand within the country? Because following the research that I did, I think in about 2020, 71.35% of gas reserves were actually imported.
Exactly.
That is a very large amount. And steadily, we import about 40 to 60% of our gas products. Now, can we actually be able to balance those two out? Do you see a situation where that is actually achievable?
It's possible if we have the political will to do it. The work on the shoulder of NL Energies won't be enough. We need other organizations, other business entities to go into that exploration, into that production of gas in Nigeria. Energy alone will not be able to shoulder it. And that's why we're calling that the government can broker with private enterprises, just like they are building a modular refinery. We can also have modular refinery for gas exploration in Nigeria and production. And that will go a long way. Now, another issue that we need to contend with, Nigerian population is growing. The more the population grows, the more demand for gas goes into it. And gas is very reliable, very cheap to use, and very reliable, very fast.
But right now, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap, but it can come down. If it can only come down in terms of the price and in terms of production, if we can have a technology of our own, homegrown technology without getting it from abroad to get it done. Because the more technology we import, the more expensive production of it will be in terms of the cost of that technology. And that's why the price can be very difficult to crash. And when I talk about international pricing of it, like crude oil production also affect gas production, also affect gas price. And this is how it all work. If we don't if at the international level, if crude oil production is not increased to crash the price, there's no way gas price can be crashed. And that is how it is going to be. But in terms of Nigeria, what can we do to help our people? Because to me, what I understand mostly is this. If we are selling gas at international price level, how can we break that genes to sell it at prices that local people can enjoy it? Because giving Nigerian clean energy also means government doing sacrifice to make sure Nigerians have access to that gas. And to have access to that gas is to me to bring the price model in local way that people can now go into it and buy it. I'm not calling for subsidy, because when you bring up subsidy now, issue into it now, it becomes another agenda for corrupt practices. But what I'm trying to say is that let us bring up a model whereby people can have access to gas, government can invest in it with private individuals, so that the technology that will be used to get that done will be locally sourced. We have research institute, over 60 of them. What are they doing? We have technology investors all over Nigeria. What are they doing? They should use it as a priority whereby we can now have homegrown technology to exploit our gas and produce our gas. And that's how we can crash the price. If not with that, if we rely on foreign technology, it's not possible.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to round up the discussion, so don't go anywhere. You're welcome back to Business Daily on Trust TV. My name is Chamunda Beng, and I'm here with political economist and development researcher, Adefolari Olamilekan. You're welcome back to the show. So today we're currently taking a look at the consistent hike in the cost of gas, which has left many Nigerians outraged at the fact that it's possible that by December we could be spending 10,000 naira to buy 12.5 kg cylinder of gas, which is a lot of money. Christmas celebrations are coming up. There's going to be a lot of cooking and all of that. So it's a problem for many households, and not just even the households. We can focus on the individual households, but then there are also businesses. There are people who market gas who are also suffering from this. Now their profit has actually dropped compared to before. And if they try to sustain that same profit margin, you end up losing customers.
Exactly.
So it's literally, they are literally in a position where they're, facing the devil and the deep blue sea. There's not really much, there's not really much that they can do. Everybody is at a loss. And then you also have restaurateurs who are also suffering that same thing. So of course, you know that even their own customer base is going to drop because they equally have to increase prices in order to match up the current reality of the market. Now, taking a look at this same situation, now what would you say the adverse effects of this would be on like the households, the Nigerian economy, and even businesses out there?
One thing about the effect on household is that they have been persuaded to move into gas, cooking gas usage, whereby government now see a need for that energy mix of cooking. The government now persuading people to go into the clean energy, which is gas. Now, there's a challenge of price. People are now returning to the old part. And what are the old part? Firewood, kerosene, charcoal. And if you know, in research that have been done by recently, that 60% of Nigeria go for firewood, about 30% for kerosene, then 5% for charcoal, then 5% for gas. And government want to break that genes whereby about 90% can go for clean gas. But now with this kind of scenario, the price of gas will be inconsistent on almost within 6 months, you will be having price changes. Nigerians households are very, very not comfortable because of that. And again, coupled with the effect of expenses of food prices in the market, businesses are struggling. Salaries are not being paid at the right time. People are already, some people that have engaged themselves in loan are trying to pay back, and now there is a struggle to meet up within household items and business. So investors, even investors within that gas sector businesses are also suffering it. They have built plants, they have set up inventory for everything, but there's no supply, and they are waiting for supply to come. So these are the effect on it. And as I mentioned earlier, the Nigerian population is growing, the demand for gas is growing, but the shortage is very, very scandalous, and that is where we are today. And families are finding it difficult. Even the alternative that they have, the charcoal pot they are talking about, it has increased from mere 500, 1,000 to now 3,500 to 5,000 to get a charcoal pot. And people are also resorting to sawdust. If you remember doing the
even kerosene is not even
kerosene is not even available.
It's like it's about 400, yes, 400 naira per liter.
Nigerians have now found themselves in a midst whereby they don't even know where to go, either to continue to trust the gas supply chain in Nigeria, or just to go back to the old part. And the old part is not good enough. It is not healthy, and it affects our environment. So in a way, Nigerians are now looking at what is the next thing. And the next thing for them is nothing but to go back to the old part. Old part is just firewood and charcoal. Even the charcoal we are talking about is not even there, because there's a clamor, there's a serious government, fighting against deforestation in Nigeria. So the people supplying charcoal are not even finding it easy to supply. So charcoal from 2,000 naira to 1,800 naira bag is now climbing up to 4,000 naira a bag.
Wow.
A parcel of charcoal that they normally tie is 15 naira before is now 150, 200.
So basically, all of the energy resources, both gas and local, that people have found to replace all of that, is now also increasing beyond even people's own affordability.
Very well. And the energy mix that government want to try to crack to break the gap is not helping matter. The gas that is very alternative, very reliable, very useful, they can't get it.
So it's like you're trying to break that trend without actually giving them a proper replacement, or a replacement that they can actually afford with ease, which is something that it should be. It should be easy to afford.
Just with ease, with accessibility, at the right time, at the right place. We are talking about Christmas coming. Gas should be available. Now it is not there. And one thing about businessmen, that even people that have it, they begin to play sabotaging role, trying to keep it, hold it, so that they will wait for the right time. So that they can sell it at high price, which is not good for the business. So that's why I'm calling on the government to, there are a way they can do it. If it is the importing one that we want to go for, people are major importers of.
Now, when you talk about hoarding of gas and other things, we've seen it even with fuel and other things. Now, is there any way around that? Is there a role that the government can actually play in order to prevent that from happening?
There are roles they can play. There are long-term roles, there are medium-term roles they can play, there are short-term roles they can play. At the short time now, is to speed up how we can. NLG have said they want to do this. How practicable is it? How can it make the supply in the local market to be increased? One thing I asked when the report came out yesterday was, I was discussing with the IFA, I said, how much of the supply are they going to give to the Nigerian market? Is it 50? Is it 30? Which they didn't disclose. Now, the price they want to crash how are they going to crash that price? Because the more if you don't outsupply the system, there's no way you can crash the price.
Yeah.
So what they need to do is that we need to know how much of their supply are they giving to Nigeria, because they are more concerned about the exporting of that gas, because that's where they make much money. So we want to know how much are they supplying the Nigerian local market. Is it 30%? Is it 40% of their production? Which is very good. If they can tell us that Nigerians can now plan themselves into and key themselves into that program. But if they don't, if they just leave it, we are going to supply. How many? Is it 5%? Is it 2%? Which is not good enough. So we call on them to be able to articulate how much of their percentage of their supply they are giving to the local market. That will help us to organize well. Then in terms of importing from other countries like Algeria and America that Nigeria normally import gas from, we should also need to look at that. Then there have been issue of the 7.5% VAT on imported on imported gas,
which was actually one of the reasons that was stated for the increase, the hike.
Exactly. Yeah. And apart from that, is also the Naira performance. Naira has been performing abysmally. So
what do you think? You feel that the VAT should be removed from gas?
You know, we have to look at it from both sides. What will the government gain if it is removed, and what will the people gain if it is left? Or what will people not gain if it's left? If 7.5%...
Because it seems like it's more of a loss on the part of the people themselves.
Yeah, to get a gas is very expensive. So government have to consider. And welfare of government, the priority welfare of government is what? To the people. So how can we break that gene? So by that 7.5%, can we say, okay, because of gas, importation of gas, can we bring it down to 4.5? Or can we go to the old regime of that price, which is very good. And I know with that, the price can come down. But the key thing is this.
Now, you talked about it being beneficial to both the people and the government itself.
Because they're making profit. From the profit they make from gas, from VAT, it is what is shared.
But if we are going back now, like you said, to maybe like what, 2.5 thereabout, does it really match the current reality that we're in right now? Let's not forget the fact that there are high rates of inflation. Foreign exchange right now is very high. I think the dollar sells for about 410 thereabout. At the official market, yes, it's 500 or so. So, I mean, does it really match the reality of what we're in now? And if it doesn't really benefit the government itself to go back to those prices?
What is the essence of government? What is the essence of governance? Is it not to take care of the people? If something is injuring the people, harming the people economically, financially, socially, what do they need to do? Why do you think the government introduced subsidy to fuel? So that they can cushion the effect. Now, we are not saying that they should bring subsidy to gas, but let us look at pragmatic way to relieve Nigeria, because one thing about clean energy is that it's a global call, and one thing that major nations have not been able to absorb themselves from is that they are calling for cleaner energy, but they are not looking at the effect in terms of the cost on the people. They want people to transit from dirty fuel to cleaner energy, but they don't know that there is a cost in transition, and it is that cost that we're having on gas. How can we ameliorate that cost? How can we reduce that cost? How can we make sure that at the end of the day, as we are transiting to clean energy, people won't have much effect? People will not be denying their livelihood. People will not be denying their cessation in terms of feeding and employment. Those are the things we need to look at. So transiting from clean energy also means that we must also take care of the backlog of where we are coming from. And that's why I talk about the technology. Because the major effect of this transition is that transition to cleaner energy, the technology to transit is coming from where? It's coming from abroad. And we have to pay for it. It's in that paying for it that we spend so much investment in getting that technology to exploit the production of gas. And at the end of the day, we now transfer that cost on the people. And that's how it is. That's why I see that the Nigeria is not performing. Because of this cost that is internationally transmitted because of global
we use a lot of foreign bodies for our research.
Exactly. So we don't have the local ones are not get engaged. Even if they are get engaged, they may get sidelined because they believe that the foreign knowledge is far better. So that's why we are saying that is there any way we can use our local knowledge to develop and exploit and produce our gas? And that is the best way.
All right, so I want to come back to the fact that, we export 40 to 60% of our gas, exactly. Which like population of 208.8 million, probably more. That. Yes, moving towards way more than that at that point. So is it sufficient enough when you're giving out 40 to 60%? And what exactly are we lacking? Why is so much of the gas being exported, even to the detriment of the people?
One is that, the awareness about gas usage has not gotten down to the grassroots. The majority of people that are using gas are staying in urban centers and semi-urban centers. Now, even with that, the population is growing in usage of gas. Now, what we need to do in terms of way forward for Nigeria is that let us create more awareness. Let us engage the people more on the usage of gas. The transition from dirty fuel, dirty energy to cleaner energy has to do with education, has to do with enlightenment, has to do with advocacy and media campaign to tell the people the advantage of transiting from this dirty one to the cleaner one. And that is the first way to go.
All right, so now my next question is this. Now, you talked about creating awareness and, letting people know the uses of gas and how far more beneficial it is than those other dirty fuels that we have. So that's charcoal, kerosene, and the rest of them, because, of course, they do have health implications. But how do you tell that to the mama in the village? Or those ones in the more rural areas, even within Abuja, when you go to certain areas that are just not as well developed, how do you speak to them? How do you speak to people who are too poor to afford? I mean, even the cost of the cylinder alone
As of
is
today,
high.
Is high. Initially, the cylinder was distributed for free. I remember in 2010, 12, 13, Orlando Oil was giving out cylinder for free. And majority of the oil company were also doing that to encourage people to get involved in the use of gas. Speaking to the local people is to speak in their language, is to tell them the benefit of what this is all about. How do we speak to people to go and vote in election? We tell them the benefit of getting people elected. We tell them the benefit of getting people represented. The same thing we can tell them how this thing can be done. But the major challenge people normally talk, when you talk about poverty, is this. That poverty gap needs to be bridged. That poverty gap needs to be covered. And how do we cover it? Is to make gas cheap. If it is cheap and affordable, I tell you the truth. The people don't need too much grammar or theory to understand that gas is used and it's good to be used. That is just the major thing. But how do we get that price break? How do we break that price to make it more cheap for the people? Is to see how we can internalize the technology and develop our own technology of exploration and production. Because as long as we are still relying on foreign technology to exploit gas and produce gas, it will still be very expensive. And that's what the government normally talk about. Another thing the government normally talk about is that if we make, just like the fuel, but if we make fuel cheap, it will become something that people will not be, what do they call it, through the border. It will be taken out through the border and sold to our neighboring countries. I can assure you this: if government can close the gap in terms of border insecurity at the border, whereby people now carry their precious goods out of the country for free, it will stop. But the major thing is this: two things I would suggest. One, let us use our local technology. Let us improve on it and exploit the gas. It will make it more cheaper for us because we not rely on foreign technology.
So improving on our local technology
to can exploit the gas. That is the finest way.
But that would be something that would take a while, wouldn't it?
Take a while. What are the professors doing? Professor of chemical engineering, professor of petrochemical engineering. What are they doing? What are they giving them research fund for? The other organization that normally give fund for education. This is now the time for them to parley with NLG, parley with Federal Ministry of Education, to can see how we can marshal our technology development through local content development, local content innovation, local content engineering, local content homegrown policy development. That is what we need to do. And if we can do that, I tell you the truth, gas price will fall. And we have so many multi-stakeholders playing it, and that's how it will fall.
All right, so coming back to foreign exchange, now, will Nigeria's LPG demand crash under the weight of the current foreign exchange rates?
The issue is this: we spend so much in importing, and that's where demand for dollar comes in, and supply cannot meet demand, and that's why Naira keep fluctuating. But I always said in my articles about the Naira to dollar issue, nobody has asked CBN what is the profit margin they make when they exchange Naira to a dollar. Nobody has asked them. It's a challenge. When heterodox economists tell you that there is no magic word in understanding the value of a currency, what they are trying to say is that if we break the margin of the profit they are making, we can get a real value of the Naira. And that is the way to go.
All right, so my last question for today. Now, normally gas prices tend to be seasonal. Do you see a situation where there would actually be a drop in this price eventually?
You made mention of 10,000, Abi.
Yes.
Your intro.
Yes.
There was another report.
Currently selling at 8,000 and it's predicted to reach 10,000 by next month.
It's even 12,500 that is even being predicted.
Wow.
In the sense that if we cannot meet up with the supply, and this is the rush time, Christmas festive period is the rush time for gas. Even people in the village, you have people traveling, you have to buy maybe 5 kg, fill it up and take it to the village to go and use for their ease. This is the rush time. And the only way to close this gap is for government to take proactive measure. NLG have told that they are going to crash the price, they are going to supply. What we are interested in, how much of that supply are they giving to the local market?
Yeah.
If they can give enough, like 80% of their production to local market, between this period, between now and January, just concentrate about 80% of your production to
and the
local
prices will crash.
the prices will crash automatically.
All right, so we've come to the end of our show for today. Unfortunately, we do not have enough time to continue the discussion, but I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Adefolarin, for being a part of the show. And to all our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to be a part of the discussion. So all you need to do is go to our social media platforms, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms. Come back tomorrow for Business Daily. Let's talk numbers.